there are other dads, other dudes who are doing the same thing and tamping down just as much rage, or other people are having the same challenges. And to put that worry to rest, I actually think allows me to have a richer rest of my life.
Yeah.
XOD, extraordinary dads.
What do they look like?
Extraordinary dads.
Where can you find them?
Extraordinary dads.
We want to see them. We'll go out and meet one. Extraordinary dads.
Welcome to the Extraordinary Dads podcast. It's me and this guy.
This guy and that guy.
Yeah, and so we haven't been on camera for a while.
We haven't, have we released any of these with video to them?
No.
Not our faces.
No. So this guy's the handsome one. This guy's the wishing.
Oh,
this
come
guy.
now. Oh, come now. You fawn.
So what are we doing?
Who are we? Jinx. We're ordinary dads who have an avid interest in connecting and sharing experiences with other dads about the extraordinary act of parenting.
That is right. This podcast explores the brightest highs and the darkest lows in the lives of everyday dads, revealing unsung stories of caring, resolve, love, disappointment, and everything in between.
That is so right, Donal. We're here to learn and celebrate practical habits that regular dads have discovered to feel more successful as a parent, while also acknowledging the challenges and shortcomings that happen along the way. That's the Extraordinary Dads podcast.
That's it.
Probably shouldn't hit the desk like that.
Even though this looks like it's in a high-end production studio.
It is in a high-end production studio. That also happens to be Donal's kitchen. It's weird. Hey.
So we are getting on camera, and this is a solo, although it's a duo solo episode with no guests.
Yeah, we're the guests this week, rounding up 1 year's worth of podcasts. We've been doing this actually over a year. I think the initial conversations happened like a year and a half ago. It was a June, I think, of like, hey, should we do this? Yeah, let's try this. I would be excited about this. Do you remember these?
The needs, the wants.
Yeah, we were very organized about this. We put together some vision of like what we needed to have for both of us.
Yeah, the fact that both of us are, well, you've moved on from project management, but we are all both highly trained project managers in our professional life. But you're moving on to being an Uber coder.
Oh, an Uber driver. You've moved on to
Uber coder, and I've moved on to being an Uber unemployed person. I'm doing it so well.
I want to know, I actually haven't asked you this in over a week. How are things going? How is your parenting, your dadding? A challenge? Proud? Practical?
Let's see. Proud, challenge, practical. Let's see. Why don't you answer while I think about it?
Sure. You can stare off thinking about what you're going to say while acting like you're paying attention.
No. So maybe something you say will trigger something that...
First off, cheers.
Cheers.
Always a pleasure to be here in your quality studio as your kitchen, and also...
Brought to you by LaCroix.
LaCroix. Also a pleasure to be with you always. So the thing... I don't know if it's a proud, but it's just been working well. I'm happy about it. So my family took a trip to Guatemala. This doesn't require people to go to Guatemala, but it so happens that we were in Guatemala, and we saw this like Mayan ceremony, and there was an ask of like meditate on a thing that you wanna, whatever intent, set some intent. So I did this, and then this ceremony kind of went on for an uncomfortably long time. It was like, oh, I didn't realize that this was gonna, like take a half an hour.
Well, when human sacrifice is involved, I'm sure it takes quite a while for...
It takes a long time for them to actually stop twitching. God, that's awful. No. Anyway, all of that
we
part
are
of
going to get a letter of
cease and desist
to cease and desist or discontent from the Guatemalan
sensitivity board.
Yeah.
So my thing, we happened to be on a family vacation. My family was there, and there was travel stress and just all this stuff. And the thing that came to me was like, I think I'm done being angry with my family. Like, I just don't want to. I know that there will be stress and there will be emotions and whatever, but I feel like I just spend a lot of my time in just like, I'm fucking angry with these people, which in the moment I don't call anger. I just call like, now I'm being a dick to my wife, or now I'm, being overly prescriptive of like, you got to go to bed now, mister.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in the end, it's all just like me hanging out in anger with my family and about my family. And, so in the moment, I'm like, I'm going to give up anger to my family. And then this thing went on for much longer than I thought it was going to go on. And I was like, all right, well, I'm actually just going to like, stay on that. And it was enough to...
You're staying in the anger while the ceremony was going on?
I was so angry with the ceremony. No, just stay on the thought of...
Oh, it's not being angry.
Yeah, exactly. Like it really imprinted somehow. So it's kind of been going well, weirdly, or just I feel like it kind of stuck with me, and I feel like I've been spending a lot less time. Not, I have not been revisiting this conscious intent every day in meditation or whatever, but like I think it just implanted a little bit, and just like 4%, 5% around the margins. I've just been like, my kids are not doing what I want, and I'm just going to be fine. And Mayana is pushing back on like, she doesn't want to be told what to eat and when to go to bed. And I've just been like, but being like, okay, whatever. I don't need to be angry about that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been really good.
Mm-hmm.
I'll call it proud. Maybe the challenge was the spending a lot of time in anger. And now a new challenge, interestingly, is like, I have a beautiful partner in my life and relationship. And this is funny. I've never had a camera to have to, to look at. It's weird when I look into the cameras. That makes it weird. We've broken the fourth wall. So I don't know. Now I'm a little more aware of my wife, Serena, when she's still like kind of holding on to some of the old, like, I really got to, I really want the kids in bed at this time. And I'm kind of hanging out and like, you know what? 9:45 is just as good as 9:30. So yeah, I probably should devise a way to gently bring her along rather than be angry with her. We have this difference and it sucks and you suck. I'm angry. Anyway. So that's me recently.
Okay, good.
What's a nugget going on for you?
I think what comes up is, again, I am still not working, still unemployed, still seeking my next gig. I don't know whether it was because I planted a seed many, many months ago, and he can take credit for it. I can take credit for it. But anyway, when I first got laid off, I sat Dylan down and I was like, hey, Dad's lost a job. I think I mentioned this in a previous episode. And that means that, we, just got a full-time job looking for another job. The issue of money has come up from time to time, and I have just comforted him in knowing that I'm not running out of money. We're not going to be living under a bridge. But the reason I say all of this is that there was a few weeks ago where he wanted to buy some markers and some an art pad at the art supply store. And typically, I love to support him if he takes an interest in anything. I think part of my job as a parent is to just support that.
Yeah.
And so when he said, I want a sketch pad, I want some markers in my head, I'm like, okay, we'll take you to the art store. And again, because I feel like it's my job as a parent to support it, the default is the knee jerk reaction
pay for that.
I'll just pay for it. And so as we're heading out the door, he's like, hold on a second. And so he went back into his bedroom and he opened up his piggy bank and took money out. This is all, I wasn't aware of this. And then he comes back out and I'm like, what were you doing? He's like, I was getting money because I'm going to pay for this. I'm going to use some of my birthday money to pay for my own markers and my sketch pad. And I didn't actually ask him. I was like, why are you doing that? But I was like, I wonder if from weeks ago when we were talking about, money, and months ago talking about layoff, if that had kind of registered. And he was like, oh, okay, I'm going to help my dad out. So it was just a nice moment.
Nice. Some actual empathy towards what's going on in Dad's life.
Yeah. So that's what I will say. I don't know whether it's
was that a prod?
I think so. I did not ask him, why are you buying it and not me? But I think it was the fact that it registered with him that, I've got birthday money and I can spend this.
Well, cool. So, hey, we've done this for a year.
We have.
How does it feel?
It feels good. It feels good on a number of different levels. One is it feels good to be putting these conversations out into the world. I think that was one of our goals, which is to talk to ordinary dads about their parenting, the ins and the outs, and the day-to-day challenges and rewards and victories.
I think we're doing that.
Yeah, and I love conversation. Mm-hmm. I love being in the thick of a conversation and hearing what other dads are doing and not feeling so alone. And hopefully, I think, you and I know this, but we have to get these conversations out to a broader audience than we have succeeded in doing right now. But It feels like it's been an incredibly rewarding experience for me to just be sitting in the rooms that we've sat in, having conversations with these dads.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Spoiler alert, 2026 is the year when we, hope to, put some effort into promoting this a little bit more. There's no monetary, there's no monetization goal in this. So it's really just kind of because we want to. But I agree. I want these conversations that we have to, not hit 100 years, but 1,000 years. And the more, the better. And so, I've loved having the conversations that we have. I continue to feel that this started as kind of a springboard from a dad's group that we've been active in for, 6 years now. And there's just magic that happens when dads talk about, the stuff of their dadding life. Some of it is in the speaking it, which we can't convey in podcast format, but some of it is in the listening to it, of just like hearing another dad talk about the challenges, the things that are going well. So I think we're doing it. It's always great. It's always great in the dad's group, which is surprising after 6 years of don't you get tired of the same old? And I'm sure, not sure. Some conversations do come back. But there's always magic there. And in having the conversations with, new, different dads, there's new and different magic. And some of it's the same old. Interestingly, it's like the same old themes just keep coming up.
It has struck me that everybody's dealing with the same things, more or less. Maybe different flavors of it within each household, but it's the same flavor of behavior challenges or helping navigate different developmental stages. But it's
just different, the similar pockets of you're in that stage. Yeah.
And for me personally, it has one of the reasons I go to our dad's group, and one of the reasons that I enjoy these conversations is it makes me realize I'm not alone. There is a body of dads out there who are journeying through their flavor of dadding,
Yeah.
who are up against same challenges, having the same little victories, having the same little insights, and we're all kind of collectively journeying through that together.
Yeah. So what's something unexpected or positive that that you weren't thinking was going to come out of this, but now it is. Now you know.
On the I think on the operational side, I love to learn. It's a big part of who I am, and just purely on the operational side, getting to understand the art of a podcast.
I'm still drawing stick figures. My art of a podcast is like thumbprints.
But a year ago, you and I had the idea of a podcast, but it was like, wow, how do you do that?
How does one?
Podcast? Yeah, and so now we're on all of the major podcast platforms,
crushing it.
but just. I have loved the one of the unexpected joys out of this is just I love learning, and it's just been really, and I still think I'm learning, but the art of the podcast and you teaching me, you're more of an audiophile than I am because you're a musician, but editing each of the episodes and making sure the levels are right, and putting all of the tracks together on the editing platform that we use.
You got some chops now.
Yeah.
Have we mentioned layoffs over lattes in any other episode?
No.
Let's do it now. This man now has a second podcast. Now you truly are podcast cheating on me. Started about the journey of unemployment and getting laid off and interviewing experts in the field of hunting for honing your position to land the next job. So anyway, good on you.
Yeah.
For creating yet another helpful podcast with charity and the goodness of humanity at heart. And
yeah. And I don't think I would have been able to springboard and launch that as quickly and as easily without kind of the nuts and bolts understanding of how to do it, having been doing it now for a year with Extraordinary Dad. So
yeah. So Serena, my wife, she doesn't listen to all of our episodes religiously, but she will put it on in the car, and so yeah, getting to hear her talk about her enjoyment of the podcast is actually really, really sweet. And also just like, so you enjoy the podcast, I don't think she's the only woman who listens to the podcast though. And it is, in fact, our Spotify statistics would say that like 20% or something of the listeners are female, which is kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's, I don't know if it's dad porn. Like, oh yeah, there's dads out there who are thoughtful about their parenting. Now that there's a camera on, I'm being very, very conscious about not doing anything lewd while being physically recorded. But anyway, dad porn. That's it. Unexpected dad porn.
Well, I did meet a former colleague of mine at a conference recently, a woman, and who said that she listens to our podcast. Her husband is a stay-at-home dad, and she was listening to it because she's aware that she's the primary breadwinner, and there was part of her feeling like, okay, I need to understand the experience my husband is having at home every day with our children. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Cool. Let's get that guy on. So you, instead of starting up the Layoffs Over Lattes podcast, did some more research on, the effectiveness of, what makes a good podcast and grows audience. So one of the things from that that keeps haunting me is the notion of what's the ask. And yeah, so, I took your good research and have been noodling on it for our podcast. And it struck me, for one, because, we kind of started this without knowing the ask, or at least I didn't really know what we were asking of our audience. And I'm not sure that I still do. I wonder what the audience wants the ask to be. But do you have a sense now of like, what are we actually trying to, we're not selling anything. We're not, we're not promoting muscle enhancing supplements or any of the typical podcast shit. So like,
Right.
what are we really asking of our listeners, implicitly with this content?
Well, I think one of the things that has not transpired with this podcast is I came into this with the belief that, like Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. And we have built it. We continue to build it. But we, at this point in time, do not have like 100,000 subscribers. And so I think we have got to do a better job of getting the word out. But I think for me, the simple ask is if you are somebody who's new upon this podcast and you listen to an episode and you get something from it, then spread the word.
Yeah.
I think that at its most basic level with any one of these episodes is just spread the word. If you have gotten something from it, subscribe, because there's a lot more content and conversations to come.
Yeah.
And then just push it on to somebody who might benefit from listening.
I was actually thinking more like what's the change in behavior? Is there a change in behavior we want from our audience, if any? Not just like product kind of stuff. There's the thing that comes to me is like, I'm not selling anything, but I want more dads to be in more community, having, deeper, more meaningful conversations about how they parent. In a weird way, I kind of feel like my ask is like, you got to, knowing that we started from a dad's group, not you and I, we've known each other for 20 years, but yeah, we have been in a dad's group for 6 years. 5 of those was, pre-podcast. There was no podcast about it. It was just being in community, dads being in community with a shared intent to, unburden ourselves of our conversations for the month, and study each other and how we're doing, and kind of get to pick the best practices that we learn from each other. Yeah. So in my head, I feel like there's an ask of like just wanting our listeners to know, like, hey, if you're doing this alone, you got to get yourself in some community. And it's probably, I don't know who all the listeners are. If that could be a hard thing if you were in the middle of nowhere, or you weren't in a community that was amenable to finding, your tribe.
Right.
That could be hard. And maybe it starts with listen to a podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there's any, you're in schoolyards, you're picking up, dropping off kids, you're at birthday parties that you don't want to be at, talk with those dads.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, the first step probably isn't like, hey, how you doing? I'm Matthew. Do you want to start a dance group with me? Maybe it is actually, though. When I started this, like, when I put out the initial email, I do remember it being, I knew all of the people I was emailing, minus Dan, who you brought along. Yeah. But there was an element of like, would you please be in a dance group with me? I'm going to need some people.
But the reaction was overwhelmingly yes. And I think that what I have found from the people that we've interviewed is that there have been a few invites that were declined along the way, but the vast majority of dads who we've asked, would you mind coming on this podcast and just talking about your experience, have said yes.
Yeah.
And I think that to me proved that there is an appetite for dads out there to tell their story.
Yeah.
And wanting to feel a connection with others through the telling of their story.
Yeah. Yeah. And every one of the guests has left saying that it was enjoyable. I'm like, oh, it was actually, a good experience.
Yeah.
We haven't, there are no unreleased archives of podcasts we started to try to record, and then the guest stormed out. Screw this! I kind of wish there was now.
And we've had one of our guests who have said that it spurred and triggered conversation in his family about, he had certain memories of his family growing up, which where his siblings and even his dad didn't have necessarily the same memories. And then it got them talking about, okay, so there's multiple sides to every story, and then there's the truth. And I think that they were noodling on, okay, well, where does the common truth exist? And I thought and it was a positive thing for him and his family, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah. So like a hunger, I'm just making a mental note of like, I think there's a hunger for more of this kind of deeper conversation among dads out there. At least I want to fool myself into believing that. And I will also say that this isn't unexpected, but it's a delightful revealing of what I'm glad is true through this process, which is that like every one of the dads are thoughtful guys who are thinking about their craft of parenting. Right. Like, and I imagine that is like, 90% true of dads in general, of like, they're not one-dimensional or two-dimensional people. Something hit me the other day. This is a little bit of a tangent, but I'm like, I was thinking about like dad roles in movies or TV shows, and like, it's only ever one-dimensional, right? Like you're going to have one nugget of like, dad was an angry old cuss, or dad was was always there and wanted to bring his son out for a game of catch or whatever. But it's never a complete person. And like, you're never going to get the full, it's just going to be dad's, he's got one thing going for him, which is completely contrary to, to the truth, which is like all of the dad stories we've heard of like, oh, there's a lot going on there. Yeah. And most of the dads I've talked to are thoughtful guys. Like there's a lot going on and they're thinking about it.
Right.
Which is a long way of getting back to the ask of like, please get yourself in some community, and you can start asking questions too. Just like, so I, in this Guatemala thing, we happen to be in a group of people. There were four dads along. Many families, 4 dads were along, and I just because I have a podcast to recruit dads for, I just had this secret, agenda of like, I'm going to talk to each one of these dads about how their dadding is. And it was great. For me, it gave me something to do in the in-between times of like, oh, this is a reason to go talk to that guy. But it just occurs to me like
in former decades, it's like, dads, when they met each other, it's like, I've got a real estate deal
exactly.
that
plastic, son.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, I got a podcast. It's like, you should get yourself into.
Oh, geez, am I the modern day? The modern day douchebag? You know what? You should get yourself on a podcast about dadding. But no, it just dawned on me like, I could be doing this more at the birthday party that I don't want to be at, of just like, whatever the conversation is, or like, hey, what do you do? And how does that impact your parenting?
Right.
They absolutely have an answer, or at least it's just another avenue of conversation that honors the fact that they're going through some stuff, and also is probably going to springboard more conversations in the direction of like, hey, how do you do parenting? How's it going for you?
Yeah. Good stuff. So what stands out to you as the value of this work then?
I mean, I feel like we've kind of, there's the clock. Ding dong, ding dong. I feel like we've, been touching on it through this whole thing, but, I mean, ultimately, just to make the mathematical equation, I feel like stronger parents make stronger kids, which make stronger together families, which go out into the world and are bigger forces for good in the family. Like you're good. The good that wants to come out of you is so much more amplified by a strong family foundation. So maybe that sounds corny, but I do feel like the value of this work is just around the margins, little bit by little bit, making dads a little bit stronger.
Do you feel like in the last year of this work that you consider yourself to be a stronger dad, a better dad? How do you frame your relationship to your craft of dadding around these conversations we've been having?
It's a good question, because I think it was actually in the original, like there were some of these notes about like, what can we not do? And I love that. I love that one of us at least wrote down like, it can't impact our friendship, and it can't negatively impact the amount of time I have to contribute to or apply to my kids. So I'm happy to say that I don't think I'm doing less dadding or worse dadding after a year or more of this. It's hard, honestly. It's hard to say. Like, I don't feel like I'm, I got out of our conversation with Steve and I'm immediately like, you know what, I'm gonna do this better. But there are, insofar as I'm thinking about parenting, like I am thinking about what the guests say, and it, I think it's all just like at the margins, kind of, do I decide to be angry, or do I decide to, to use this interesting thought that a guest just said? I feel like I spend more time in a realm of possibility of, oh, maybe I could make a different choice right now.
Yeah, I would agree. When I think about, I don't know, let's give myself, from 1 being the worst to 10 being the best dad. Let me give myself maybe a middle of the road. I'm a 5. Do I necessarily think that the last year of having these conversations has moved me from 5, needled me up to 6 or 7? I don't know, but what, similar to you, I think it's just made me more mindful on any given day of making a better choice. And so that to me is great.
Yeah.
That's a win.
Yeah.
If I can, and there have been nuggets, and maybe we'll get into this, but there have been in various episodes nuggets that I've taken and applied, or nuggets that I've taken and I've just been more mindful in my parenting.
There's absolutely been things where I've like heard it, heard it last week, and now I'm trying it. And for at least those 30 seconds, it was an improvement in my life.
Right.
I got 30 better seconds in my life.
Yeah.
In an other sort of around the a roundabout way of it being better parenting. I feel like the rest of my life is better. I think this is just pointing to like, get in community. You got to be having some conversations. You can kind of like not compare and contrast yourself with another person, but like you can kind of watermark yourself of like, how am I doing here? I feel an awful lot of anger. Is that normal? And just to know like, oh yeah, that's normal.
Yeah.
There are other dads, other dudes who are doing the same thing and tamping down just as much rage or expressing it in different ways, or figuring out how to channel it. It's just like other people are having the same challenges, and to know, to put that worry to rest, I actually think allows me to have a richer rest of my life. Like, I'm not obsessing about like, holy shit, I went off on my kid last night. Like, now I'm a bad person, or I don't deserve, whatever the mental hang up is. I think I enjoy the rest of my life knowing that I'm doing okay in the dad realm.
Yeah. No, and you are.
Thank you. You too. You too, buddy. Did you have any, were there any, going back to nuggets? I don't necessarily feel like I have a favorite episode or a favorite guest, because they've all been rich and they have been, it's been deeply satisfying to have conversations with every single one of the dads. But was there any standouts for you, or any nuggets that you've taken and applied in your own life? I was I was thinking about that one. So the obvious one for me, or the big one for me, was getting to interview my own dad. Um, which, yeah. Side note: you can interview your own dad. Like, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be vicarious. Um, it was just a real treat to have him in the hot seat, and yeah, to have an agenda of like, hey, Dad, I'm going to ask you some questions
Yeah.
about being a father,
Yeah.
and to just get the straight, his straight experience. That was really meaningful to me. Um, and oddly, as I kind of like shuffled the shuffled the box for the year, and like, what stands out? The episode with Dan, our old dad. Um,
Yeah.
I saw him just a couple days ago, actually, and we got to relive the "you're worshiping demons" aspect, which I absolutely love. And we talk about we don't talk a ton about religion, but it comes up in religion and spirituality. And it just struck me again how much I love Dan's framing of he's a Christian chaplain, and like that can be a turnoff to a lot of people, myself included, in different contexts. But like whenever he's talking theology, I'm like, God, I wish the whole world,
Yeah.
I wish that was Christian theology.
Yeah,
Like, he
yeah,
just has a
yeah.
great way of expressing his spirituality and his relationship to religion and God, Jesus, in his case. Yeah, which is it's a weird standout moment, but I think the period on the sentence is, I love having these conversations, like different, weird, different, quirky conversations come out, and yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah.
Standout moments.
Yeah, I think as I was thinking about recording this, there are three things that that I go back to. One is the Dan episode, and where he said, "Grow where you're planted," and I think maybe that was the title of the episode that we pushed out. But that really resonated with me, and I distinctly remember the moment where it came out of his mouth, and I'm like, okay, that's significant. Let me just file that away until after we're done, because we gotta continue to have this conversation. But I was like, wow, and I've actually used it more in my current status of being unemployed than I have in my dadding, and it's allowed me to go back to what are the things, grow where you're planted, and I think took that literally, and I went all the way back to Ireland, and I was like, what are the things when I was growing up that I really enjoyed and that I've forgotten about, or that I have the opportunity to look at again in this period of unemployment, and maybe that helps me to guide my process and thinking towards something different or something new. So that was significant. The
Do you I just wonder, I mean, the irony is not lost on me that like you uprooted from Ireland and moved over here. Is there any a wistful sense of like, oh, I didn't grow where I was, biologically planted, and now I get a second chance to.
Yeah, and for me, just a real thumbnail. And one of the things that I went back to was my experience of growing up in Cork, and my aunt Kitty owned a butcher shop, and um, she was in the business of selling meat and fish, but what she truly was in the business of doing, the business, air quotes, was building community.
There is a cultural heritage in you that you can plant into and root deeper into.
Yeah. Real quickly, two other episodes. The Max Shee episode, where he talked about his, again, I'm paraphrasing, but essentially it was like, meet your kids where they are.
Yeah.
And not where you want them to be.
That's a great classic lesson.
Yeah.
But it was so sweet to hear it from him.
And so that got me thinking about, in the day to day, where I feel like I want Dylan to be either mentally somewhere, emotionally somewhere, or physically somewhere. And that's me. And can there be a way for him to be the kid that he is, and and yet I still get to kind of nudge him, whether it's getting out this door to school or he's having a moment, and at least in my head, maybe the timing isn't great, but I've got to slow down and just meet him where he's at. So that was great. I don't always succeed, even now being aware of it, but at least I'm aware of it. And then the last one was the Jeremy Stone interview, where he talked about making, essentially, he talked about making a playlist, a music playlist for his son, and that was coming from his son's, since his son seeing him be, a musician, a music producer, as well as Jeremy kind of wanting to expose his son to his interests. And so that got me thinking too about incorporating more of who I am into my parenting and exposing Dylan to my interests. For one example, I like theater, or I like to meditate. And I'm starting to just, Dylan and I will go see a play. I took him to Shakespeare Santa Cruz this past summer. Or I'm now slowly, and it's not consistent, but trying to develop a meditative practice for him, even if he just, sits on the couch for 5 minutes, and we'll both sit there and I'll put on a timer. I'll close my eyes because I'm a long-term meditator, but I can hear him next to me, and he's like twisting and turning in his seat and whatnot. But anyway, it's just like, these are things that are important to me. These are things that I've benefited from. And so here.
I think we've done it. So before we leave here, I really want to get from you who your favorite podcast co-host is. You get 2 guesses. And they're both right.
You're definitely my favorite. I don't know. I don't even know why you put that question down there.
So weird.
That's stupid.
You're my favorite podcast co-host, so wow, it's a tie.
Yeah, so maybe we should continue doing this thing.
Another year?
Yeah.
I'm open to that.
Whoa!
Wow, that was satisfyingly loud. Okay. Well, I think we've done everything we came here to do.
It has been and continues to be an absolute pleasure to journey through these conversations with you.
Likewise.
And
I feel the same, brother man.
Yeah. Okay, we're out of here.
Bye.
Ciao.
Da